Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2 with the Polish Protoss player in the blue. We have Geralt. And up against him, the Finnish Zerg player. Yes, it is Mixu. A best of 3 Protoss versus Zerg showdown. You guys showed so much support for showing off the best of the rest that I had to put that sort of loyalty to the test. And before I rest, one more thing I think would add just a little zest. And that would be zest. But secondarily, it would be smashing that like button and maybe even subscribing. And Jimmy, what are 1,393 likes on this video, on this cast? I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Robotics facility and a Twilight. Oh no. Already starting things off a little differently than we're expecting, as no Stargate in production whatsoever. He's banking up over 100 gas. Mixu has gone for a quick Zergling speed, and with plenty of lings to deal with these early adepts. But a Shrine to Dark. He couldn't join us here today. Not for lack of trying. I think he's on the other side of the bracket, but a Dark Shrine to kick things off. Geralt not pulling any Protoss punches. European Protoss know their way around all sorts of gooey, cheesy things. And this is something I haven't seen for at least a little while. The danger and the benefit of the Dark Shrine and the Twilight Council are the ambiguity. With a Stargate, you know the score. You know what they can be doing and how they're going to do it. But when there's a Dark Shrine, and a Twilight in general, it kind of leaves you guessing as Zerg. We already have Spore Crawlers on the way, a Roach Warren. As Mixu right now, all Mixu knows is that there is no Stargate. An Oracle would have already showed up. Spore Crawlers are on the way. This Spore Crawler is quite conspicuous in its location. Notably not being in where Judea. It's not to defend an Oracle, obviously. Looking more like a tumor there than anything else. The Spore just out in the front, intentionally trying to shut down any Dark Templar. And being at the top of the European ladder, I'm assuming these... Well, if he wasn't sure about the DTs before, he's certainly sure now. Because what you can't see definitely can hurt you. And those DTs eviscerating the Zerglings and now going for the mineral line. Brenda, did you hear that? It must have been the wind. No, it's a Dark Templar! Oh my god! I don't... Picks it up, though, with the War Prism. There's a Roboband of Forge already behind the Spore Crawler, maybe regretting not putting it in the mineral line as the Spore Crawler has to... Oh, but wait, the War Prism. The Spore Crawler has to get all the way back to the mineral line. 3 drones down, but down he goes! Off my creep! Alright, Brenda, the DTs are still here. Going back to the corner, the Dark Templar are locked in for now. Recall is available. I'm not exactly sure why Mixu decided the Spore Crawler would be best off in the center of everything, as the mineral line still seems like a worthy place to protect. But 5 drones dead, and finally, the Dark Templar, for the most part, are dealt with. One more at the natural. But since the... I didn't even get a moment to breathe here. And still not, as that DT finally gets cleaned up. But you guys seem so interested. Thank you for kind of pushing the idea of maybe looking for some other players out there. And there are plenty, but Mixu specifically plays in many of those online tournaments, possibly inspired by a fellow Finnish Zerg. And I found his games, without spoiling myself. I haven't actually watched most of the games, but his games are chaotic. So I'll be keeping a closer eye. Just like these Archons inside of the... one Archon in the Prism, hunting down the Zerglings. And he's getting Gravitic Drive, War Prism speed for his Archon Prism, the Super Shuttle. Now Disruptor's on the way. But rushing Prism speed off of the Dark Templar rush. He's going straight to the other side of the double Ds of destruction. Disruptors and Dark Templar. And now, with an extra fast Prism, the Queens and Roaches, there's not even Roach speed yet, but Mixu has 69 drones, which is nice enough to perpetuate this economy. The detectors fight each other, and the observer survives. Well, at least they contract out their armies to fight them. But the roaches, trying to target down, drags back the Archon into the prism. The queens are coming up. He's not dephasing the prism, and again, another one bites the dust. It's a disaster for Geralt. Getting a little too fancy with the micro. Should have pulled back and looked a bit more at the macro situation. And now the queens. 2 taxis, 2 Ubers called in. Uber Lords. No, maybe not on that one. But Disruptor shot is spotted. But 2 Dropper Lords on the way. And Tunneling Claws and Burrow and Overlord Speed. Oh, he finished the Dropper Lords. Or maybe, Dropper Lords are actually still faster when they get the upgrade. When they upgrade into Dropper Lords, rather. But they're even faster when you get the, speed upgrade. Down goes the most important part of the Protoss army, which has happened 3 or 4 times so far. But Geralt still has Blink Stalkers with +1 against unupgraded Roaches and Lings. Some of the least efficient supply in the Zerg army, especially when it gets lambasted by Disruptors. Thankfully for Mixu, that didn't happen here today as the Disruptor goes far wide. Roaches and Ravagers chasing down. But the Blink Stalkers are able to thin out the forces enough. And now the Dropper Lords... Oh, I really thought the Queens were gonna jump into those, but it seems like they're just on a sightseeing tour. Nope, another... They're hurting the Overseer. Come on back home already. All right. Okay, Mom. Well. The Dropper Lords... It is a little weird that you can turn them into a Dropper Lord and then turn those Dropper Lords into Overseers, but Overseers cannot become Dropper Lords. Regulations. Now, the mass tunneling claws roaches. Will he see the roach sign underneath? With these... Oh my god, it's so obvious. Wait. Will we just fire at the ground? If he sees it, he unburrows some roaches to chase DTs. Okay. So he's unburrowing roaches to chase DTs, pops out the roaches to deal with the zealots, but the Disruptors are here on defense, and oh my god, critical hit, and the shield battery, and almost the entire group of roaches is annihilated in 3 Disruptor shots. It's a disaster for Mixu, but not necessarily one he can't recover from. Wow, that went about as poorly as it ever could. And now Mixu has to contend with a fully operational Protoss ground army, but he's got a hive on the way. Geralt at 87 probes to the 77 workers of Mixu. So actually the army supply isn't even really reflective. Roaches taking out more of the cannons. Blink Stalkers holding on, but a lot of the static defense isn't here yet. But thankfully, the more mobile defense is moving into position. The Blink Stalkers jumping on it all. Tower gets down, another one of the Overseers. Last line of defense could be the Dark Templar with no detection, as so often it is. Now Storm on the way as we reach for the other sword of Templar. Forge. And +2 ground weapons. Is that a second forge? Or is the first one? All right. Roaches unburrow. Unfortunately, that doesn't allow them to see the Dark Templar. 2 different sorts of things going on there. Now the Ravagers, Roaches, Lings, and a whole lot of Banes. The Disruptors, fadeaway shot. Dodged out. Another one. 0 for 2. Shack at the free throw line. And now the Storm is nearly complete. But the Templar aren't quite here. The Disruptors are on cooldown, and the Banelings are rolling up. One more Disruptor fires off. Finds a handful of Roaches. Banelings crashing through. The probes, where do they go? The units lost tab. 17 down. Some of them able to escape to the back line. Disruptors coring out the army, though. And some of the Roaches and Ravagers will be taken down. Though overall, I'd call that a success. As Geralt plummets to a 1 probe. No, he's even. He's dead even on work. Adrenal glands now in the way. Mixu trying to keep the pressure on. The Stalkers moving into position to defend the fourth. Disruptors at near point blank range. Double shot catches most of the roaches. More Zerglings coming in. The fifth base is abandoned by Geralt and overrun by the Zerg. There's a single cannon, mostly for detection here. Disruptor shot. The bouncer at the door, but it's on cooldown now. Down goes the Overseer lives with 1 HP. You gotta be careful with that thing. But actually, there's not that much Zerg here. Another Baneling rolls in, takes out the shield batteries. Geralt is actually supply blocked from all these pylons going down. Mixu now with a Hydra Den on the way. He's at Hive Tech. And he fires up! Fire everything! The storms! Wades into it! Loses the Overseer. Roaches taken down. Disruptor shots are looking good, but Mixu's supply has plummeted. Blink Stalkers. Body block out in front. Another group of Stalkers. I'm not sure where they were going, but they finally came back home. Roaches try to come up. Banelings rolling in. Mixu's starting to run out of steam here, and the Stalker count is getting damn high. 29 shots. Disruptor on top of itself, but the Zerglings are easily able to dodge away. Blink Stalkers try to save the day, but no shield batteries left. The Zerglings take down the Ruptor, and another round coming in for Mixu, but he's down 15 supply here. Disruptor shot. Great connection. Softens up the Banelings, the cannons, and a wave of Zealots warped in. It isn't great, but it's good enough. And now Mixu's down 40 supply, as Geralt blinking forward, smelling Zerg blood in the water. And those noses are surely keen, as they don't have mouths, so I assume their other senses are enhanced. Consider that for a moment, and then consider this amount of Stalkers, Disruptors, and Storm. If Geralt doesn't get distracted by a couple dozen Zerglings, could be a deadly army. But he doesn't want to risk going too far onto the creep. At the same time, though, only we know. This game has been so hectic. It really doesn't feel like Geralt should have a 50 supply lead now. If I'm Geralt in this position... Wow, you've gotten so good, Winter. But if I'm Geralt in this position, I think Mixu's probably maxed out, maybe a little underneath, but be careful. No. It's a economic and just general disaster for Mixu. He's about to make like 15 lurkers, but Geralt does not know that. This moment will pass him by, and finally the Dropper Lords are called into action. Oh my. Unfortunately, 2 Archons, it's gonna be, well, yeah. Maybe they should have stayed in retirement. Those Dropper Lords who haven't seen anything the entire game and now regretting seeing anything ever at all. We've all been there. Banelings melting the Zealots, and Geralt sitting at 200 supply. Lurkers on the way. The biggest risk here now for Geralt overall will be detection. If he loses his observer, then the Lurkers can do what the DTs did earlier. Double shot. Queens. Oh no, Susan! I love you, Susan. Oh no. The Lurkers. Storm. Transfuse, though, keeps it together. And Mixu has caught up. Geralt, not quite able to take advantage of his army yet, but still, this is a very dangerous... It's not really on Geralt right now to get the damage done. Okay, his army is dangerous, and he certainly can, with these judicious disruptor shots, get plenty of damage. But it's on Mixu to put together a solid enough defense to hold on. Two Vipers sniped off out of the egg. Disruptor shots to cover the retreat. Actually loses several Stalkers, straying a little too close, but for the Vipers, it's certainly worth it. 2 Stargates were in production. I don't see a fleet beacon yet, as Geralt is, well, that's because I was seeing the future. The beacon is lit, and the Protoss are looking to close this out. More Disruptors onto... just gets one of the Lurkers, a little off the mark for the second. He was firing mostly blind there. And Stalkers and a Dark Templar. The Dark Templar are actually going to be taken down. Geralt, in a bit of a precarious position, has to be very careful not to lose the most important bits of this army. The drones are pulled off the line. The army retreats from the danger that the drones, and I guess the DTs pose. I mean the Lurkers, rather. All detection requiring units look alike to me. Invisible. Well, Mixu now has what looks to be a competent late-game Zerg army. Unfortunately, Geralt looks to have a maxed out and more than competent Protoss one. The DT getting the damage it never could to start off the game at the natural. It's going to take a massive lurker swing here, and even then, that only will even the score. As opposed to turning it back towards Mixu. He's just run out of units to swing around the map. It's been too costly. The disruptors have been too good. He's lost 50% more resources, though mostly minerals. The lurkers trying to slip behind the mineral line at the back. Mixu at 750 average APM. He yanks out the observer. Wow, even putting Raynor to shame with that APM. Over double his countryman, almost double his countryman, Sarah, who averages like 450. There's something to be said about quality over quantity. But Mixu, catching quite a quantity of units in the corner here. There are no... these two lurkers got 12 probes and force a huge response out of Geralt. So the lurkers are closing in from both sides. There's no detection here. He pulled the observer, and now he's cornering the army. How long on recall? It's 20 seconds out. Oh no! The Protoss army is trapped. The disruptors are taken down. It's a disaster for Geralt. Oh no! It was looking incredible. And now, it's not bad. Like, he still has a lot of supply and money in the bank. But it's certainly a lot worse than it was just a minute ago. Disruptor shot finds a double kill. The drone's off the line yet again, angrily chasing down the Immortals. But Mixu is holding it together. Knocks out another Immortal. Does he have Hydra speed? Does he have Hydra range? He does have Hydras. We'll start from that. No Hydra speed or range. He's realizing that now as his Hydras are slowing down his lurkers as they try to move across the map. Which is a little sad. Considering they were Hydras in a past life, I'm just saying. Creep, the great lube of the Zerg. Put that on a motivational poster. The Vipers really hate living. Feedback is 0 out of 5. Should not... He totally wanted that stalker, right? Mixu, though. 23 drones dead. Geralt might be too big to fail here. It's just... While Mixu's won a lot of battles, Geralt has seemed to have more of a command of the war. A carrier, a disruptor, and a mothership, and 2 Nexi walk into a production tab. From the Zerg have no counter. And a Tempest. Throw that one in there. Geralt getting the full variety pack of late-game Protoss options, whereas Mixu is getting a very mediocre position on the top of this ramp. The lurker count has been thinned dramatically. The Vipers are still trying to help out, but spamming the feedbacks. And the lurkers just big disruptor hits. What a game, though. Like I said, just looking through a few of Mixu's games. The clip notes. Chaos. Brutal chaos. GG. You know what? I think it warrants it. As game 1 goes to Geralt, who holds on. Besieged by Mixu's continued Zerg swarms. But it's just not enough. And that is a tough map to actually close out the game as Zerg. Not that it was particularly close to being a game-winning position, but still. Shows how precarious it can be, even with the supply advantage. If you don't quite toe the line of perfect, things can go the other direction ridiculously quickly. But here, 1-0. Geralt, the bottom left of Crimson Court. Mixu decides the forward base. With the Rich Vespine Geyser is what he's going for. Not gonna let the probe block anything. Will this lead into... Oh my god! Oh my god, he's going for it! Ah! Who does that? He gets the probe! Everybody hates probes.
We got him.
Finally.
Get the fuck out of...
Is it worth it? Economically, I love how Geralt is so well, emotionally, mentally, yes. It's gonna be a definite yes for me. The fact that Geralt is sending out a second probe means that was a win. Even if, when you crunch the numbers together...
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you.
What's important is that he put the fear in his heart. Another important thing is he took... Geralt knew he took that second base in the center with the Rich Vespine Geyser. This very well could, and some might argue should, be a Roach All-In. And now, by killing that probe, Mixu has kept that big, like, clickbait level question mark of, is it? Is it a Roach All-In? There is a Stargate on the way. Geralt going for the safer overall play, though has its own vulnerabilities, which are mostly queens walking across the map in a timely manner. Couple of depths. Oracle is now on the way. Zerglings get into the natural. Just a couple. A nuisance to the mineral line. But there's no adepts here, as the adepts already shaded across the map. The third adept coming out. The probe's still chasing, trying to replicate the success of the drones earlier, but they didn't find it. Down goes one leg. And the second one, off-screen death. Which means it could come back at any point. It's a popular enough character. Recalls the adepts out after 2 drone kills. The hubris. And he gets away with it, though. Oracle on the center base. But a third drone coming out at an inopportune time. 5 kills in total. Now Mixu, kind of a rough spot economically. This first part of the game, with the constant poke and prod of the adepts and the oracles, can really spiral out of control and have reverberating effects as the game goes on. If you end up down 5-10 workers at this stage, it becomes very difficult to have the economy to actually compete with the Protoss follow-up. Not impossible, but difficult. I say as the damage continues to be racked up, but in comes another Oracle, the Queens. Oh, that is just rude. Drives straight through, gets a couple more kills, takes a lot of damage because every Oracle must take at least half its hull in damage when attacked by the Queens. It is known. No matter how many kills it gets, that is an obligation for Protoss players. It's in the contract. Stalker, politely yet firmly asking the Overlord to vacate the premises of the Pervert Pillar. The creep spread is pushing forward conspicuously now, as the Queens seem to have, they're getting a bit of cabin fever, it seems, over here.
Susan, could you get out of the way of the eggs? Brenda, I'm not in the way. We don't really have collision with them. It doesn't really count. It's just kind of like it's like a visual thing. Well, maybe if you got out of my face, my visuals would be better, Susan. What the fuck, Brenda?
Well, the Queen's here to defend. Adepts on the high ground, but the roaches pop out. Geralt actually shades through. I don't know, Kev. The oracles? Well, that was a bit optimistic from Geralt. He had the high ground, but he tried it anyways. And now here we are. As the Queens are more than halfway across the map. The soul stroll has begun. The shield battery under attack. The probes are pulled. The oracles already used most of their energy in that half-hearted attack. And now the Queens are waltzing up the ramp. So many Ravagers and Zerglings.
We've arrived! Yeah, okay, shut up. I can hear you.
Down goes 2 shield batteries. The Oracle's completely out of energy. No blink, no +1. More probes dead. Mixu does not have the economy to follow this up back at home. Nor does he need to with this amount of damage being done. Down goes the 3rd base. Geralt is supply blocked. The creep is on the doorstep. And the Ravagers are knocking at the front. And the Zerglings get in anyways. He has enough for a force field. Not that it matters much against the Ravagers. The Zerglings get into the main, harassing the probes. There's barely any gateways powered. Blink might be done, but he can't blink out of the map. Which means the Ravagers and Lings, they won't stop coming. Well, they might, as he's actually rebuilding drones now. The Cyber Core being targeted. Shield battery manages to be powered. More Zerglings in the main, but Mixu has caught up and surpassed Geralt now. Oh. Watch out, Zerglings. Ravagers take down the rocks, open up the opportunity. Geralt was going to try to take that back door 3rd, but now the door's wide open again. And Mixu has the economy to follow it up. He's got an infestation pit on the way. Could be hive, could be swarm house, could be infestors, could be just because it really increases the property value of the main. Either way, whatever angle he's going for, it's not a bad choice. Makes a pretty hard supply block, but he's got 7 Ovies in production. There's the hive. Geralt gonna try to make something happen with these stalkers. He's still got the oracles. A Robo Bay on the way. +1 ranged attack, Baneling speed. Geralt's starting to stabilize. If Mixu has 1 or 2 particularly bad fights, he could be right back in this. But Mixu has hedged his bets well. He's not just on roaches and banelings. He's got the hive. He's got 4 going on 5 bases. His gas geyser is nearly mined out anyways. Sure, he'll rebuild it, but Geralt playing very careful. He's got some stasis. But the hive will complete. We should see adrenal glands alongside +1 melee attack. As well as potentially some vipers. We'll see. Getting all sorts of upgrades now. Here's Mixu. Templar archives and a 2nd robotics facility for Geralt. Really lining up the splash damage options. He just needs to survive to attain them. Big stasis catches a lot of the Zerglings. Almost so many it's a liability. Banelings make sure that Stalker is dead. Gonna wipe out some more of these rocks in the corner. +2 ground weapons. Now completed for Geralt. And the Zerglings looking for a surround, but there's not nearly enough Zerglings to actually engage those stalkers. Disruptors on the field, but Vipers in the sky. Now gathering energy. Geralt is slowly but surely clawing his way back up in supply. And we've got a bit of a reverse of the previous game. Oh, he's gonna wait for the rocks to go down and fire off a volley. The Zerglings will take out the Ruptors, get some of the Banelings, but they weren't even finished morphing yet, which means he gets mostly a refund. The Zerglings are chasing it down, and the Stasis saves the second Disruptor for now. +1 melee is done, but more Zerglings up north. Geralt, he has to pick somewhere to defend. Another good Stasis Disruptor shot through the Stalkers. Clips a couple Roaches. More Corrosive Bile. Zerglings on top of the Nexus. Viper in position. Blinding Cloud makes sure the Stalkers can't close, but it also works against the Roach Ravager, so not ideal. Disruptor shot finds the mark. Another shot clips 2 Ravagers. Geralt's getting everything he could ask for, and maybe a little extra. But at the same time, Mixu is doing so much damage. And there's just simply not enough. We cannot hold, say the Protoss, somehow, psionically, because they don't have mouths. Clips 2 of his own Stalkers in order to obliterate those Zerglings. Pulls out a Ruptor, but 3 more shots where that came from. All of them come up short, though. Another volley to knock out the Zealots before they warp in. Does he even have charge? He does not. Geralt, on a shoestring budget, can't afford anything that would help the shoes of the Zealots. Zerglings, 20 probes dead. Mixu on 5 bases. Ransacking the main. Banelings rolling in, crushing the static defenses, almost depowering more gates. Tries to warp in to save the day. Not gonna happen. Takes it out. Disruptor shots. Not on the mark. He merges his Templar and storms himself. The splash damage on top of his own army. And he's gonna get washed away by the Zerg. 40 probes dead. 100 supply gap. And it seems like Mixu, this time around, has what it takes to break through. And then 2 of the biggest Disruptor shots that could possibly landed. Sir, a second Disruptor shot has hit the Roach Ravager. But is it enough? Another shot pulled out. Purification Nova comes in again. Decent hit. Disruptors keep charging up, but the Nexus is failing. Looking for something to hit at all, but Geralt at this point, it's target practice, but he's running out of real estate. There are 2 Infestors just gloating over the corpse. He dodges the Fungal, blinks over the top, and unfortunately the Roach Ravager will chase it down. Another Ruptor shot. Still 100 supply gap as Geralt dips ever lower. And Mixu, I don't care. Some of you may die. Most of you may die. But that's a chance he's willing to take. More Ruptor shots just keep raining in. But the Zerg keep replacing them. Geralt at 64 supply is super duper dead. But he does have like 3 Disruptors and a Dream. So if Mixu clumps up all of his Roaches into a tiny ball and hold positions them, there may be a small chance that Geralt can hit enough of them that he'll still lose, but it'll look very dramatic. Disruptor. It's always sad when, like, you have the Disruptor shot and water balloons from the Templar, which there's something amusing about that juxtaposition, but another Ruptor shot. The Zerglings just overrunning. And Mixu ties up the series. 1-1. In another hectic game. I bet he lost more. Nope, Geralt just barely at the end. 14k apiece. So much of the infrastructure, so many buildings. In terms of actual units lost and resources. Oh, Mixu by far. But the only building he lost that game was a singular extractor. So, it could have been worse. Clearly, he won the game, so there were many options for being worse. You're welcome. A more profound commentary from me, your host, and the guy you left on autoplay one time and now come back occasionally to remember what it was like to enjoy this game 10 years ago, and maybe even pretend like you were ever competent. And like, if you like fulfilling your fantasies, I'm here for you. Just like and subscribe. We're going into game number 3 on Site Delta. And we'll see which of these 2 scrappy players will survive. I love the Disruptor Blinkstalker style. I think there's a reason it's not as popular. You can even see there how... So, all puns intended, hit and miss it is. But when it hits... The highest highs and the lowest lows. And Mixu just sending it. Though, we saw the glimmer there. He adapted from game 1. He got into a good position. He pulled back slightly, made sure he had everything he needed to back up his attack and have that late game. Like, he didn't leave it up to chance. He didn't leave it up to that fancy Blinkstalker micro. But instead, he brought Hive Tech, Vipers, Adrenal Glands, everything he needed to close it out. So, clearly adapting and overcoming, as any good Zerg would. Alright. Well, what's it going to be from Geralt in Game 3? I suspect the Stargate, but we've seen that the only game he's won so far, and to be fair, there were only 2 games, I know, but was with that DT opener into the Speed Prism Archon drops. Will he reach for it again? Not starting Warp Gate. It's very likely we're gonna see... I meant the Twilight Council. Obviously. I think he's intentionally not starting his Warp Gate research. Wow. Okay, so the Overlord, it doesn't have the little icon, remember. All I can see is whether the Cybercore is lighting up and turning its fidget spinners or whatever is going on there. So, and believe me, you Mixu's keeping track of that. When he sees that Warp Gate didn't start till well after the Cybercore was done, you assume it's a Stargate. Because you usually delay Warp Gate in order to get a Stargate. But Geralt delayed Warp Gate in order to make Mixu think it's a Stargate. Now, if Zerglings get in and see the Twilight, obviously, that's not going to be great. This Adept standing right there is quite suspicious in and of itself. But the Adepts are moving out. The Zergling really, really wants to get in and see any of this. It's waiting for its moment. A Dark Shrine again. He's masked it quite well here. Now, you can't expect to completely surprise the Zerg, but you want to cast enough doubt, enough pocket sand in their direction to keep them from being able to commit to a strong response. And then you can dictate the pace of the game, much like Geralt was able to do in Game 1. So, we'll see if he has enough sand to throw around here. Zerglings. Poking and prodding. Well, the Overlord gets in, it's going to see the Prism. So, and that's going to see the Shrine to Dark. And that, you know, gives up most of it. But triple Spore Crawler on the way. And now, I mean, look at the drone count. 38, 37. I think he's just building... he's losing drones to Adepts. Yeah, that'll do it. Meanwhile, the Zergling's at the natural. The Adept's getting an inordinate amount of damage done. 7 kills without even a DT getting involved. The Queens push away the Warp Prism, but in being so focused on that Prism, they end up abandoning the mineral line and come back to a much sparser set of bases than they might have hoped for. And the Zerglings are working on the 3rd, but getting just sliced by the Dark Templar. Archon merge on the way. A lair behind it, but just the threat of DTs mostly doing the work here. Keeping Mixu busy and off guard for long enough that Geralt is now comfortably going to get his 3rd. There's no way to pressure that. There's no way to bring detection until air tech. The DTs are kind of a by default defense for your 3rd base. Now, that doesn't mean, like, people... And I'd be like, well, why don't you just go DTs every game then? Well, because it's not that expensive to get a lair. It's cheaper than even getting the Dark Shrine, so... They bring an Overseer and a bunch of roaches, that DT defense, when cast into the light of day, does not find as much success. But the Warp Prisms have not had a great life expectancy so far for Geralt. But the Archon punching through, angrily closing the distance. I mean, if you were stuck with your partner for your rest of your existence, then you'd probably be a little upset too. More queens. No, the probes! He's misrallied the probe. Get out of the way! God damn! Oh no. What was that? Oh no. This is the income a lot closer to even than it probably should be, as the probe strike has finally ended, or at least the stalker that was standing in the way of them finishing their commute. But now, 2 Archons, the Queens objecting to the prism. And the prism darting in. Archons juggling onto the Queen. Susan, no! Ah, the Archons are doing so much. The Queens are getting cyberbullied. There's nothing in the main. The drones. Perfect. Perfect Warp Prism micro from Mixu. Though, I mean, not from Mixu, from Geralt. Be odd if Mixu had a Warp Prism. Something would have gone horribly wrong or right for him. The disruptors are building up. Mixu working on his 4th, but Geralt has a comfortable 3 bases right now. So he's not too worried about it. The Archons are clearing the creep, which seems beneath them, or so they think. And that's true, as the creep is on the ground and the Archons hover above it. Roaches, Ravagers, Zerglings, Baneling Nest, and Infestation, but on the way. All the fixins for the mixins, but still, the timing is rough here, as Geralt now has 8 gateways online. He's got 3 disruptors and counting. He's working on the 4th base, though. The Zerglings have something to say about it. Warping in a couple DTs. The Zerglings may be able to cancel the base in time, but the main army is moving out. Down goes the Nexus. Meanwhile, the rocks distracting the Roach Ravager, though that does give a lot more opportunity. Disruptor shot. Parts the Red Sea for now. And DTs are running away from Zerglings that can't see him. Definite Selectal army there. But Templar Archives begins. Hive Tech is on the way. Ranged attack upgrades for the ground for Mixu. Zerglings keep getting eviscerated by the DTs that are still here. Overlord speed about to complete as well. Archon merge to delay a little bit longer, and Geralt is actually forced to pull back. Chases down a Ruptor. It might cost a bit. Oh my god! Big hit. How much there? Wow. No. I need to see it. That looked like a lot in the battle report. The fadeaway shot. The Ravagers. And the Warp Prism over the top. Through the trees. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's a disaster. And the Zerg are obliterated, atomized by the Disruptors that just annihilated 20-something supply, and both of them able to escape. Geralt takes the supply lead. Now, Adrenal Glands on the way, Vipers as well. The tools that are needed in order to dismantle this very disruptive composition. But even then, is that enough? There's so many Ruptors. It's just Roach Ravager. Plus 2 ground weapons is done. There's nothing to hold Geralt back. Well, there's like 4 Zerglings, but that's effectively nothing. We're rounding down. Sorry, Zerglings. Morphing Banelings in the main. Disruptor shots to zone things out. The Vipers are gathering energy somewhere. Still more Ruptors. He's on creep, so he's able to get away. I don't know if that even hit a single unit. Where are the Vipers? Another shot. That one gets a Ravager. Another shot. Wow. He's doing a great job of splitting away without completely retreating his army. But that's not good enough. Running away is not good enough. At some point, you must fight, despite the most dangerous force fields. The Ravagers and the Roaches trying to close in. Another shot. Where are the Vipers? When the Westfold fell, where were the Vipers? Okay, when the 4th base was assaulted, where were the Vipers? When the supply plummeted, where were the Vipers? And now, as it already drops into critically low levels, the drones are pulled, the Vipers show up and say, well, you didn't see anything. The blinding clouds are good, but they're not remotely good enough. Geralt takes the victory. Mixu not able to pull together the Hive Tech in time. But a hectic series and some really fun games, I think. So hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it made your day just a little bit better. Thank you for the recommendation to check out some of the, something a little outside the top 10. But otherwise, thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. And otherwise, I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.